Hello, everyone. This is a tentative hello for episode 78. You might have noticed we had some technical issues. We haven't changed host. I'm still hosting, but I'm now straight into the Ethernet port. I'm just checking the chat to make sure it's okay. Everyone seems happy. Loud and clear. Okay, I'm going to take that as a good sign. Hi,
There
Mark.
we go. Hello, let's do the intro for the podcast because they don't want to hear any of that nonsense, do we? So,
No.
yeah. What?
I will go in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 78 of FPL BlackBox. Game week 1 is done and dusted. We are looking ahead to game week 2. The less said about game week 1, the better. You are currently listening to the two worst FPL managers, the two worst content creator FPL managers combined in the world. There's no streams out there with a combined rank of over 11 million like us, Mark. How you feeling?
I feel like we can give a unique perspective with that in mind. I think we've got to be positive, haven't we? It was a difficult game week 1. Arguably I asked for it going without Salah. I think I was a bit unfortunate with the Kane-Son combo. A bit more on that later, perhaps. But I'm all right. I'm looking forward to the fact that we've got another game week coming up and football started, FPL is back, and we've got to be positive, right? 37 game weeks to go.
Oh, wow. Do you know what? I wasn't expecting you to be so positive, Mark. Not after a certain Black Box presenter went on a bit of a rant on Twitter a bit earlier. And apologies if you are listening on YouTube, you might have heard a bit of this before. I'm not sure how much people heard because my stuff cut out. If you're not aware, though, Mark did go on a little bit of a rampage this week at some of the models of Twitter, not Gianni Buttici, but some of the actual analytical models. Do you want to just summarise, Mark? What were you so angry about?
I think I've taken stock and I feel a bit regretful today that, I think I blamed a lot of it on effective ownership and expected value, which is the model projections, if you like. And, I think content creators like us have got to take some of the blame as well. And just to be clear, I absolutely love models. Rate My Team, one of the first FPL models I brought to the community via Fantasy Football Scout. I love what John's doing on FPL Review. All the analytics guys, I think it's fascinating. I'm not clever enough to know it like they do, but I love using models to help me pick my fantasy football team first and foremost. But the real joy for me of FPL is watching matches and building up, making decisions based on what I see, right? That's the real joy for me. When you get a call correct based on something you've seen in a previous week, whether it be tactically or a weakness in an opponent or whatever, that's where the joy is. Now, I understand that a lot of people out there as well get joy from perfecting their models and getting optimal lineups and optimal scores, right? I understand that is a thing now, but I won't be able to go fully that way. I'll use models in a different way, but I'll always get my joy from watching matches. And I think you're the same, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong way to play FPL, and this was some of the debates I had earlier. And no. I was a bit regretful because I got into something with irons earlier that I used some of the wrong terms, not like me at all, to go in a bit hard on things. But people play the game in different ways. I understand people want to minimise risk and strategies and all that. I think the issue is the kind of attitude that some people seem to have, that their way is the right way or the highway, and anything you do that goes against the right way is just luck if it comes in. Anything you do that is part of this optimal strategy. I think that's the only issue that we both have with it, right? Because generally speaking, I think the FPL community is amazing, and Fest was amazing on Friday, and most of the interactions I have with people. But there does seem to be there's such a fear of you have a bad rank and what that means for your credibility in the community and what people are going to say, that people don't want to be creative, and a lot of people don't want to think outside the box. But at the same time, you have people who then say, oh, well, everything's the same and you're template and you're boring and things. And this is what I was getting with doing the team videos for Scout. You can't win because you can't be creative and really boringly sensible and stick to the same strategy. So people want it both ways, but I think at the end of it, I think people who go for calls that they believe in their gut or they've done their research on something else, and just because it doesn't go against just because it goes against the model doesn't mean it should be vilified if it goes wrong or put down to luck if it goes right.
Yeah, and it's not just the models out there as well. It's not just expected value. Effective ownership has had an impact on things, and content creators are also worried about effective ownership and expected value and going against that and getting bad ranks. They add to it as well, so we're to blame too. But what's happening is there seems to be a growing culture of you're wrong, I'm right, I'm playing the optimal way, you're playing the non-optimal
Yeah.
way, and it's not healthy. You know, like when I see someone have a bad game week because they, picked Kane over Haaland, I would perhaps try and represent the reasons why they went Kane over Haaland. I wouldn't go, well, bad call, what did you expect? I wouldn't say that. And yet there is a culture out there that's now doing that, right? And what has created that? Well, a combination of things probably. And it is a social media thing, right? Maybe I just need to mute people on Twitter. Maybe that's the way I should have gone about it. But I do think there are, as content creators, we're almost afraid to think in a different way and go against effective ownership, or go against what the models say, or go against what other content creators are doing, because we don't want to look stupid. We want to protect our ranks. And I guess we're contributing to that as well. So it's a snowball effect, right? And it, I think it's social media's got a lot to do with it. And I've enjoyed my last year on Twitter. It was my first year back. It's not so pleasant this time, but maybe I just need to stay off it on match days or around weekends. I mean, it's definitely a thing, isn't it? It can be quite toxic, right?
It can be. I think like FPL has got. I think it's gone from being like a kind of. We can't look at it with the same lens that we did 10, 11 years ago. And as ridiculous as it sounds, because I mean, for a lot of people, sure, it's a bit of fun and, you play it for 10 minutes a week and all that. But when it becomes such a big part of, your interactions with people and stuff, you can't have a rank of 3 million, 30 weeks in. And there's always that fear that if you...
we might have...
exactly, we might. But there is that fear, right? Because I think you do lose credibility and you do lose kind of a bit of status, and you have got to kind of justify yourself more, and it can be hard. I mean, you found out when you were doing the FPL show when you were struggling, and I had it when I was doing BlackBox in the first season with you, when I was right down 800,000-900,000. It's not as, the game isn't as fun when you're doing badly, because not only are you trying to do better and climb up the ranks, and you can see everyone else doing well, but also you feel like you've got to keep justifying everything you're doing because I'm doing badly. When you're doing a stream and someone says, "Oh, why we listen to this guy? He's 800,000." It's like, well. Yeah, I mean, you're probably right, but at the same time, I'm not going to stop doing them just because I'm doing badly, because then you get flamed for that as well.
The thing is, there's a culture of people don't want to be curious and investigate, right? This whole going Son over Salah thing, it isn't Son over Salah, right? It isn't just comparison of two players. It's Son over Salah with an extra million that means I can do Ramsdale over Ward and Everson, right? And I can get a third Liverpool player, whether that be Diaz or Robertson, over Mount or Diaz, perhaps. But people don't want to hear that. They just want to go, you've picked Son, not Salah, you're wrong. They don't want to hear that there could be more to it than that. And of course there's more to it than that. And also, not long ago, Jamie Piggott won FPL by not going Salah and by backing Son and De Bruyne. If he'd have gone on Twitter and gone, what do you think of this? And people have gone, that's not the optimal. He might not have done that, and he might not have won FPL. Yeah. And it's like, so we can't say, I've done something wrong. I've taken a risk, or you've done something, or another person's done something wrong. No one knows the right answer. And John on FPL Review and Chris on Rate My Team didn't create these models to give people a right answer. They created these models to help people. And as John said today, it's an overlay over our mind map.
Absolutely.
As in, you take what we process, watching the matches and looking at data, and then the models come in over the top and they add a framework to it as well, and maybe set boundaries. And it's up to you how much you use the model to affect what you've already got in your mind map. But they're not the right answer. They're not the silver bullet. And people are looking at that, and they're definitely looking at EO as well and going, you haven't got Jesus, you're wrong, I'm right, because look at the ownership. It's things like that. And it's not really healthy, because then you get content creators like us afraid to stray off the path, and you've got people on Twitter afraid to suggest, I'm thinking of this. Like, if you go back a year, Jamie going on Twitter saying, I'm thinking of selling Salah and I'm going to captain KDB and Son, what would he have got? What reaction would he have got? And yet that won it for him. It's a shame, and I hopefully we can get around that.
I see more and more people on social media, and I'm not going to pick anyone in particular, but just people in general who are more than happy to share obvious stuff, and they get kind of rewarded for that with likes and interactions and stuff. But I'm seeing less content about lesser owned picks, and maybe you see someone do a post about a differential. Do they end up with it in their team? Nah, because it's not worth the risk, and that is the way it's heading. People are moving towards this more solid, base. And I think the FPL pricing doesn't help because I think, like when you can build a team of 11 players from top 6 sides, why would you take a punt on a player like Dean? I mean, that would just be absolutely ridiculous, wouldn't it? When you could have, an Arsenal defender or someone else. But
well, we'll get back to that later. Why did you do that? You're wrong, I'm right, kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, but yeah.
But yeah, I think it's important just for people just to be aware that, sometimes I learned today, sometimes the things you post on Twitter don't always come across as you kind of mean them to. And I think some of the discussions we've had with people, they seem quite judgmental. And then when you kind of actually talk about it, it's just people trying to learn a bit more about why you've made it and see why you've done it. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess that's the urge it's very rich for me to say. I'm definitely not perfect at it, but I guess just think about how you talk to people and stuff. And let's not kind of berate people just because they're doing things that are a bit different to what you're doing. Let's kind of encourage creativity. Speaking of encouraging creativity, let's have a look at your Game Week 1 team. I'll read it out. I think the stream's all good.
Yeah, I think we're all good. Yeah.
We've had a super chat from Andy from Slippers. That's nice of him, isn't it? Donating to the
Andy in the house.
Andy in the house. He wants to know about Haaland. I'm sure we might mention him in a bit. Your team on the screen is Ramsdale in goal with 6. The double City boys, Cancelo and Walker with 6 and 7. Double Liverpool defence, Trent and Robertson with 1 apiece. Son captain for 10. Still beat me. Spoilers. Luis Diaz with 2. Saka with 6. Martinelli with 8. Kane with 2. I mean, it all looks great. And then the final name to read out is Brennan Johnson, who I'm sure wasn't picked with any kind of bias whatsoever. I'm sure you looked at the stats, the fixtures, everything, right?
There isn't really a 6 million striker you can go for. Solanke, I guess, but the fixtures were not great. And also, it turns out he played midfield, didn't he, with more up front. So he played a more withdrawn role. So, and Brennan's got West Ham and he's got Everton, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, of course, I said at the start of the season that there'll be Forest picks in my team throughout the season that will probably scupper my rank a bit. But I think I've got to go with that. But no more than that.
But you get Lingard. I think, same price.
Well, when he looks fit, yeah, he doesn't at the moment. I think what I would say is, and this is it, right? No one was saying that that Kane was unlucky when Haaland outscored Kane. I didn't see many people come up and say Kane was unlucky, and I didn't see many people say Salah was a bit fortunate to get the returns he did. Salah had a disappointing game. He was quite peripheral until the end of the game when Liverpool were chasing and losing, right? Of course, Salah's going to be more involved then because Liverpool were throwing things forward and panicking, right? They had to claw it back. And as for Son and Kane, I went for the 2 because I really thought Spurs would beat Southampton handsomely, and they did, right? How many times will they score 4 goals and I will only get 1 assist out of Son and Kane? If you put 4-1 in a model, there's no way Son and Kane would just come out with 1 assist, right? They'll come out with more points than that. So it was unfortunate, but I took that risk by going Son and Kane, but I got the right result, not the right output. But that's the way it went. So I got punished and I've fallen behind. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. It was always the idea to move one of them to a City player next, so I'm doing that. And then I think I'm okay. I mean, obviously it's going to come down to how Salah does against Palace and how Son does at Chelsea, but there's more games to go, and I've gone this way over a period of games, and as I said, it's about more than Son versus Salah. I've got Ramsdale in goal instead of Everson and Ward. So that's what I've done with the extra million.
Can you stop slating Everson and Ward?
I know. We'll get to him in a minute.
The dynamic goalkeeper duo that is those
It's like
two.
I said, right? Ramsdale beat Everson Ward by 5 points. He might beat them again by 6 points, and that's the gap between Son and Salah maybe. So it's a lot more complicated than comparing 2 players, isn't it? When you look at FPL, and that's what you can't go into perhaps with those limited characters in Twitter.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing, and to mention Andy's super chat is what happens with Haaland. I mean, he's the obvious captain choice in 2. If he then becomes the default captain choice for the next 5 or 6 weeks, do we need Salah? Like we're going to be talking about Nunez quite a lot. He's the poster boy of this episode, but suddenly it's gone from Salah is essential to, well, actually Nunez is quite good, isn't he? And getting into some good positions.
He's a bit good.
And we're going to be captaining Haaland every week. So
maybe. I mean, that is a factor. I mean, I didn't think it would happen as quick. I did think that Haaland could become Luis Suarez. I think remember when Suarez was at his peak, and you just couldn't take the captaincy off him, no matter who he had. He was on penalties like Haaland was, and he was just eating up Premier League defences, and Haaland could do the same. So then we are going to look at Salah and going 13 million, and I'm not captaining him, and I can swap him for Diaz and spend them extra money elsewhere, or swap him for Nunez and spend the extra money elsewhere. That could become a thing, right? it isn't yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with your team, is there? As much as I'd love to say that it's horrific, I don't think there's any prizes for knowing which move you've already done, which we'll talk about later. But then the rest of it is solid. I mean, it's just Brennan Johnson who stands out like a bit of a sore thumb. I already have about 4 players in my team that stand up like sore thumbs, and it's only Gameweek 1. So if you look at mine,
how did you end up not setting your team up for Kane or Haaland? That's what I don't understand. I don't.
Well, you do.
Didn't you think about the risk with that? Did you not worry about it?
Well,
did you think Jesus could cover it? I guess.
Well, my team's on the screen. I went for the Ward and Iverson goalkeeper double up, which I still maintain is good. Trent with 1, Ward with 1, Robertson with 1, Dean with 1, Perisic with 1. 1, 2, 1, 2. There's not really 2s. Yeah. I can't even use the joke.
Your defence is no, there aren't any 2s.
It's just all bloody 1s. And then Cancelo, and then I had Salah captain with 24, De Bruyne, Mount, Neto, and Jesus. Well, the idea was, and the idea was kind of always, and almost still is that I wasn't completely sold on Haaland based on what I'd seen pre-season, what I'd heard from Pep's comments, what I saw from the Community Shield. Whereas De Bruyne had just come off the back of his best goal-scoring season. He was playing advanced in all the pre-season games and up top. Pep had described him as the most fit he'd seen him in his time there. He's got proven Premier League pedigree. And I just thought, I'm going to be wildcarding pretty early in the season anyway. I'll go with the tried and trusted person that no one else seems to be going for some reason, because everyone's going for Haaland and Salah. And, if it all goes tits up, then, I'll be able to wildcard out of it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of happened was the worst case scenario, really, of Haaland banging straight away. And, he's probably going to rise 0.2, 0.3 this week. And then he's got Bournemouth. Okay, I'm okay with De Bruyne versus Haaland. I mean, if I was to pick one now, obviously I'd pick Haaland. But I still don't think there's a huge amount in it between them both.
No,
Jake disagrees.
It could turn round, couldn't it? I mean, De Bruyne is going to be a player that could do a lot of damage in that game. And he can do it just by getting assists and maximum bonus, can't he? So you can't write that off. And he could be a really effective differential if he does come in for you. The price rises are the killer. And I commented about that on Twitter this week as well, didn't I? And the fact that happened far too quickly, didn't it? And it's not just you and I who'd be frustrated by that. It's the new managers who are playing the game for the first time who have gone, great, I can have all these big players. I can get Haaland, I can get Son, I can get Salah, I can get 3 big players in my team. And then within 1 week, they can't go Kane to Haaland. And they don't know why. And I think it's a shame. I think they should have throttled it a bit.
Yeah, I mean, the ruthless part of you wants to say, well, they should be more engaged and they should be checking price comparison site. Well, price comparison sites, that's like Compare the Meerkat, not price comparison sites, price rise sites. Don't go on Money Supermarket, it really won't help you.
We weren't paid for that.
We weren't, no, damn it. We should have done. Maybe we'll get some of the back of it. But the kind of the other side of me thinks, I think having price rises before or just after the first round of fixtures ended, on the day that it ended.
Yeah.
And we've seen them lock prices before. We've seen them lock prices of Lukaku in the past and other big name players. I think they could have given people a bit of time to adjust to the new season and just lock them until like the Wednesday or the Thursday and then kind of got things back to normal. Now, I talked about this with Gianni on the stream for Scout the other day, and the vast majority of people in the comments disagreed with it. They see it part of the game and all of that. But FPL were trying to tread this line between catering for kind of more casual players and, making the prices so that you can have everyone on your side and get all these big names. And then that seems like such a fundamental thing that's just going to piss people off straight away. So
I'm not comfortable with making the game more mainstream and relying on the hardcore to help players, which is exactly what they're doing by saying to players, well, if you want to know how, go to these websites. But they're not even saying that because they don't really push them. But that will be their retaliate. That'll be their answer. It will be, well, people know there's tools out there that can help. Well, you can't make a mainstream game and then go, oh, but you need to be part of this audience to be aware of this. It's like, make up your mind. I think that's what's at odds with me. Basically. Yeah, and they clearly have tried to make the game more mainstream with the pricing. I don't think anyone can debate that. But,
no, I agree. Yeah, I mean, just coming back to my team. I mean, my problems are, I mean, Ward and Iverson, whatever. Like they're 4 million keeper. I'm not expecting big things, so that's fine. Dean was a mistake. I expected them to beat Bournemouth quite comfortably though, and now we're starting to get all of this talk of unrest in the Aston Villa camp. He's fallen out with Watkins, falling out with Mings as well. And you've never been a big fan of Gerrard's as a manager either, and sour-faced git, I think is probably some choice terms that we both used.
I don't like it. I don't like it when managers immediately blame their players. And last season, I can't remember what game it was, but they lost a game at home, and he blamed the players for not playing the system that he set correctly. And he was almost saying these players aren't good enough. And I think he was trying to send a message to the board, as in, I need my players over the summer. And when you start blaming players, it's probably a trend that he's carrying on doing, and therefore you're going to get problems, aren't you, in the dressing room, I expect. And there's big characters. I mean, Mings is a big character from what I can tell.
Yeah.
Watkins I don't get, because he looked like he could be a prospect in FPL this season, possibly, if you were going to look at 7-5 forwards, which we're not. But to not start the season was very odd. Particularly, and when you look at it, they're up against Bournemouth, who are threatened set plays. No Mings, no Watkins, 2 players that actually could help you on set plays.
Yeah.
And it's a bit odd.
It's true. I mean, to go in with only really say Watkins does leave for whatever reason, Ings and Archer, and Watkins, that's not exactly you're not spoilt for choice up top, really. And he likes to play with 2 up top. Anyway, we saw, Bailey playing up there with Watkins, or Watkins and Ings towards the end of the season. He likes to kind of shift that round. So it's a strange one. I wonder what's kind of gone on there. Maybe we'll get a bit more news about it. But yeah, I mean, my biggest thing though, I mean, Perisic was obviously an error. We kind of knew that he wouldn't start, but I wanted to kind of go. Looking back now, it's kind of like, should definitely have not done that and gone for someone else. But I did the thing I always said I wouldn't do, Mark. What was my black box lesson? Don't change my team from the last stream. Who did I have on my last stream? Kulusevski. Who did I change 10 minutes before the deadline?
Really?
Kulusevski. Yeah. Kulusevski.
Why did you do that? To Mount?
Do you know what? It was such a such a ridiculous roundabout way. Because I had Perisic, I thought I don't want to have too many doubts in the rest of my side. So rather than just removing Perisic, I removed Kulusevski for Mount.
It was certain to play.
Yeah. But I thought, it could get to like game week 3, game week 4, and maybe Kulusevski's, not going to be in the side. Maybe Richarlison comes in and all that. All the things that I was saying about Kulusevski, keeping his place. I just thought Mount was the safer option. And I looked at Everton and thought, I think there's probably an equal chance of a return here. And then, then I've got Mount kind of going forward. So Mount's going to stay for a bit. I still like him. Of all the 8 million options, he had one of the best XGs last season. XGIs. He's not a bad option just because he's blanked once, but it does hurt when the player you've taken out.
We're going to look at him later, right? Yep. We're going to compare him to our 8 million, and I think it was hard. In your defence, I think the last week leading up to the Friday deadline, I don't like the Friday deadlines to start the season, and it was hard again. I've played this game a lot, and I'm not enjoying the Friday deadlines and the week leading up to it. So I think it's hard to be disciplined with your decision making. I think it's easy to make mistakes. Yeah. So if you're beating yourself up, don't, because
we all know. I mean, I'm trying not to, because the 8 million spot was hard. There's some great options there. Kulusevski, Saka, Mount, Diaz. Foden's come into it now. Maddison was knocking around as well. So yeah, it's always hard when you make a decision like that, and it feels like my 50-50 calls all went wrong. So I went Kulusevski over Mount, I went Dean over Gabriel or Trippier, or any of them. They all came in as well, and then obviously De Bruyne over Haaland as well. So yeah, not a good start, but yeah, and I think next week I'm already going to be Andreas Pereira deep, so that's going to be fun.
Is that a thing now? Is it right?
He looked good though, to be fair.
He did look good.
That's the only saving grace. Right, let's take a quick look at the fixture ticker. So this is from game week 2 to game week 8. This is from Fantasy Football Scouts. Is my boys top of the fixture ticker? We've got to talk about them, haven't we?
Performance, eh? And you backed them for the win as well, didn't you? And they got it. And it was never really in doubt for the first 20 minutes. They were looking the better side straight away, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, the worries were, taking out 2 big players from our side and who can replace them. I think Caicedo looks excellent. He's a different player to Basuma. He hasn't quite got the kind of, the interceptions and the tackles and that, but he's a bit classier, I think, kind of on the ball. adds a kind of a nice touch to our midfield. And then we're just making do with our random wing backs, Trossard and March coming in a left wing back and right wing back. And again, we're such a system team. These players are so well drilled. They know their roles. They can play anywhere and they all just play for Potter. And you compare that to the United players. And, I always get slammed for slating United players, but we've known it for years. They're just a bunch of mercenaries, those United boys. And I think the only player that I'd take from United is Sancho. I think the rest of them genuinely are poor. And I think Brighton could end up finishing above them. There you go. That's my bold prediction.
Yeah, I think they're in a rut and it's set into the camp. And, there's deep line issues, right? I don't think it's the attitude of all the players. I'd like to think like players like Fernandes have still got it in them to be key players that can take that club forward. But there are problems, deep-rooted problems, right? And I think Ten Hag already realises it. These managers keep coming in, and I think it's got to be a common element, and that common element is the culture of the club. Maybe there's something there. I mean, I've seen it in Forest as well. We've had it we had a long period of struggling behind the scenes. It might not have been issues with the playing staff, but there was something there in the club, and it takes a while to get it out, and it's going to take a while for United to recover. And Brighton have given them a sobering afternoon straight away, and there's probably more to come. Brentford's looking, that's not going to be easy coming up in game week 2, and then after that it's Liverpool at home. I mean, it's like there
was only really one player that I think came out of that United game with any credibility, and that was Ronaldo. From a performance standard, I thought they were so much better when he came on the pitch. They actually had a bit of threat about them. He was making runs in behind. They had like a kind of leader, actually barking at them and stuff. I mean, we can say all we want about whether his performances are hindering the team, but I mean, they've taken Pogba and Ronaldo out, two of the players who have been constantly told that they're toxic to the environment of the club, and made no difference whatsoever. And he came on the pitch and looked the best player. So I don't know what Ten Hag does. I don't see how he can not start Ronaldo after that, but that's not what he wants to build there. So
he can't win, can he? He can't win really.
Really tricky.
Anyway, Brighton.
Eriksen was all right as well, but he was playing at false nine at times and didn't look. Yeah, very strange.
Brighton top of the ticker, but we're not looking at any of their players, right? But Danny Welbeck had a good game.
So, he did. Yeah, Danny Welbeck.
Maybe he's going to be my Johnson replacement. Maybe that's where I go. Why not? If he stays fit, but that's a big if.
I'll tell you, he's been in the gym. He's been in the gym. Yeah.
He looked very good indeed. Yeah.
Then we got kind of Arsenal. So I mean, now is the time. People with Martinelli, obviously, with Gabriel Jesus, with Saka. You want to hold on to all these boys, buying them if you haven't got them. I mean, it's a great run. Leicester, Bournemouth, Fulham in the next 3. Great 3. We've got to mention Man City as well. I mean, 3 home games in the next 4. Bournemouth, Palace, and Forest.
And this is why when you talk about Haaland, maybe perma captain, he probably, maybe you don't go with him in game week 3. I'll probably go Haaland, Son, and then possibly Haaland. but it's difficult in the home games. But we haven't seen him in a home game yet. And what I will say, and we'll go back to it later on, we'll talk about the captaincies, is let's see how he is against a low block, because that's going to be very different to what we saw at West Ham. At West Ham, they got the breakthrough for the penalty. West Ham had to come out a bit, push a bit higher, and then there's space in behind. There won't be too much space in behind Bournemouth, I don't think. Yeah. I think we know what they're going to do, and they're going to do that 5-0 down. They're not going to go, we're losing this game, let's come out. I can't see it. Parker doesn't play like that. So it might be, it's going to be different. It might be more difficult. We don't know. So we don't know a lot at this point. So, so we are probably going to captain Haaland, but we can't be absolutely certain that he's going to do the same against a low block. Let's see.
Yep. I mean, talking to Bournemouth, they're bottom of the fixture ticker. I mean, they really needed that win against Villa. They played really well, defended really well. Villa barely had a sniff, did they? They really not that wasn't in the script at all. We all thought whipping boys for Bournemouth but I mean, the next 3, if ever you need to be brought down to earth in the Premier League, it's Man City away, then Arsenal, and then Liverpool away. So the 2 best teams in the league in the next 3, really tough. So.
Well, they've got a good run from game week 5 and 6, like Fulham and Forest have. So that's the time when those teams could recover. And that's the time maybe wildcards will be played.
Yep. And in game week 6 as well, that's when Palace start getting a good run, because they've got Liverpool and City away in the next 3. It's crazy, isn't it? Both Palace and Bournemouth, both with the 2 toughest games you can have in the league in the next 3. Then we might start kind of looking at some of their players. Let's take a look at. I think I made my joke in the last stream. I don't think I made it in this one yet, but we've got loads of data. All the analytics guys are going to love our big sample sizes. Here's
What can you get from one game week?
everything.
Not a lot.
Well, what I can tell you
Not
is
a lot.
that Newcastle are by far the best defence in the league. And XG conceded non-pen of 0.28. I think that says more about Forest than anything else.
Yeah.
What did you make of the performance from the new boys?
Disappointing,
Pretty
but then,
woeful, isn't
St
it?
James. Yeah, St James's Park is a very difficult place to go now, and Newcastle are a good side. I mean, so they're a top 8 team. I think they will be top 8, and at home they're particularly strong. So I'm not reading too much into it. I'll go to the West Ham game on Sunday and see how we do there. We're very strong at home. We were last season. The atmosphere will be good. Let's see. And we've still got players coming in. I mean, God, we're linked with players left, right, and centre. So who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got to remain optimistic. It's only one game, like I said. Is there anything here that shocked us? Not really. I mean, I'm surprised to see Wolves so attacking, and that obviously not leads to the bottom here. XG conceded non-penalty per 90, 1.84. I didn't expect Wolves to be creating that many opportunities, and I didn't expect Leeds to be prone to giving up opportunities, because under Marsh they seemed a little bit better. But it's one game. We can't, there's nothing you can get from this really at this stage. So we need at least, 5, 6? Ideally, you want more than that. But
Yeah.
that's when we're really going to be drilling into the data, right?
I mean, one thing I will say is Arsenal. I mean, XG conceded of 1.21 was actually worse than Palace at 1. So they did ride their luck at times. I thought Palace had some decent opportunities. There could have been a handball as well, a penalty for them. They got the clean sheet and it all looks quite rosy, a 2-0 win on the opening day. But they were tested by Palace.
Yeah, and Eze had that one-on-one, and Ramsey made a good save.
Exactly.
And Saliba was very impressive. So I like that Arsenal backline with Saliba in there and White at right back. We'll see what happens when Tomiyasu comes back, and if that's.
I like
gonna
Saliba a
lead to
lot at
shuffle.
4-5. I think he might be the one saving grace of me not going for Gabriel, is that I might move for Saliba and save that 0.5. But then what happens with Ben White, like you say, when Tomiyasu comes in? Because Ben White's too good to sit on the bench.
You'd think.
Yeah, interesting. Attack, I mean, this is basically just things flipped. It is interesting. I mean, Wolves right at the top of that. It was the last game on Match of the Day, but it was an exciting game, the Wolves Leeds match. Aronson got the goal, who you'd mentioned pre-season. I said no to. Regret that, because I went for Neto, who you said no to, and I said yes to. So you won that particular battle. I thought Neto looked pretty good, actually. He was.
Oh yeah.
He was in good positions. He was, sometimes a bit too wide, but the ball just wasn't quite falling for him. But I was quite encouraged by what I saw actually from Neto.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fantastic technical player. It's just, Wolves disrupted by the Jimenez injury. They got new signing coming in now, Guedes, who's going to add a lot to them. You would have thought maybe would play up front, 6 million midfielder. He's coming at from Valencia. I think
Was that pronunciation right?
Is it Guedes? Is it? I think it is.
Said it very confidently. Then I was quite
I think it is. Or something like that. But he's a 6 million midfielder that comes in with good reputation from Valencia, and will probably start up front in Jimenez role. I would have thought. We'll have to see, but it'll only be temporary, I guess, until Jimenez is fit. And there's a lot of competition for that. And I'm still jury's out on Wolves. If they carry on creating opportunities like they did at Leeds, then we got to take notice. And their fixtures are good, so they could. But we'll see. It's going to be a test against Fulham, I think. It's going to be a really interesting game, that.
It will be. What do you think of them losing Cody to Everton? Obviously, he didn't start against Leeds, but...
No, it's a good signing for Everton, because he plays in the centre for free, doesn't he? And that's how they set up. So it makes sense if Wolves are going to stick with the 4 at the back. Don't see Cody in that team. You'd think they'd need him for squad depth, but I think they need to sell to buy. So I think it makes sense to get him out. But good player, and Everton have done well there, I think.
Yeah.
So, and they need him, obviously, with Godfrey out and Mina possibly out as well. So that Everton are in trouble defensively. So quick signing, good player. I think they'll be all right with him.
I actually think
Not an FPL talent though.
Everton with a again, it's one sample size, but I didn't think Everton looked completely toothless against Chelsea. I mean, they did in the sense that they needed a striker to put stuff away, but they had a couple of moments where I don't know if that's Chelsea looking patchy or Everton, looking kind of okay, but I was more impressed by Everton than I thought it was going to be. They have to sign someone. They have to sign someone up front, because I think they actually can create some chances from what I saw in that game. And I think, there was a time when I think Gordon was through, and maybe it was Iwobi or someone just had an easy ball just to play him through one-on-one and then just messed it up and things like that. I don't think they're going to get many chances, but they don't have anyone to take them. But at the same time, I think if they do sign someone, they might be all right. I'm a little bit more optimistic about Everton after seeing that Chelsea game than before, but obviously it's a small sample.
I mean, Gordon, Gray, Iwobi, ex-Lively, but it's decision-making end product. That's the problem, isn't it? And consistency. So, yeah, they need a striker.
Well, Rondon's back next week, so...
Yeah, well, Villa-Everton suddenly looks like a big game, doesn't it, for both teams? Gerrard needs the win. Yeah. Gerrard needs the win. He won't want to suffer another defeat.
Yeah, I think
Everton, that's for sure.
I think obviously I've got Dean, and I think we're going to want to be targeting defences playing against Everton for now. But Gordon is a hell of a player, I think. So yeah, you never know. Right, subs. Let's take a look at subs then. So what you've done here is highlight the teams that made 5 subs, and then some of the big names that have been subbed off early. So the following teams made all of their 5 subs for the first time. So Brentford, Chelsea, Man City, Man United, Newcastle, Southampton, Spurs, West Ham. So you've got the majority of the big boys there. You've got Man City, you've got Spurs, you've got Chelsea, all choosing to do it. Liverpool didn't. They made 4. Obviously Nunez came on and changed it. A couple of them were kind of enforced as well. Obviously Thiago was injured, so that's Elliott coming on for them. Only a few teams made less than that. I mean, Leicester only made 1, which was taking Dewsbury Hall off, I believe. And then they completely capitulated after that. And Wolves only made 1 as well, despite
it's squad
really
depth.
looking...
It's squad depth with Wolves, isn't it? Leicester haven't brought in any players either, so they need more bodies through. I think there wasn't any major surprises. The bigger teams using the 5 subs. That's what we're going to see. Players highlighted. I mean, you've got to look at Havertz and Mount and think, well, that's going to be the thing with the Chelsea mids. Whoever gets in the team, there's always going to be that chance of getting hooked that little bit earlier. Now there's 5 subs. When it was 3 subs, Mount and Havertz, Werner, these are players that could go off after 60, 70 minutes. But now I would say it's almost certain that they're going to make changes depending on how the match is going.
I think Mount's all right. I think Everton had a clear game plan against Chelsea, and that was stop Mount doing anything. And I think they actually put that to, the tactics. Everton's tactics against Chelsea was actually really good, and it really kind of frustrated them. And Mount was one of the most frustrated players, I think, because he just couldn't get the time on the ball. But I'm less worried about him after the Spurs game when the fixtures get quite good. I don't think someone like Leeds, for example, really has the personnel to be able to do that. So I'm not too worried about that. If he gets subbed early again against Spurs, for example, it might be panic stations, but I'm not panicking yet.
I think the only thing is, like, Chelsea have got some difference makers on the bench. Right? They've got players who can come and have an impact, and so that's always going to be there, isn't it? It's always going to be a threat. I mean, Havertz and Mount were pretty anonymous. Maybe that did have something to do with the way Everton played. Maybe credit to them, but we'll see. I mean, the Spurs game's very, very different. You'd expect them to get more minutes in that, but again, I would expect them to get hooked. Elsewhere, I mean, Haaland coming off, no surprise. We kind of will expect to see this. He's not going to get 90 minutes. Not very often, I wouldn't have thought, unless, the game's going to the death. I think in games where they're 2-0 up, like they were at West Ham, with 15, 20 minutes to go, he's going to be hooked off. So we've got to expect that and build that into our thinking, including for the weekend. So no surprise there. Sessegnon off on 65. When Perisic is in, this is what we'd expect to see. You're going to be watching the game with Perisic and trying to get over that 60-minute mark and hoping they do. And it's, you're going to be anxious about it, right? So again, they've got players that can come on and make a difference.
I can't believe
he had a blinder, didn't he?
My God, it's just
goal and an assist, wasn't it? And Emerson got 2 assists.
No, he just got the goal. I think he did score again, and it was offside or something. Sessegnon, and he did only get one though, one return, but he played very well. Both the fullbacks played well. But again, I mean, Southampton were just all over the place. They just gave them so much time on the ball, and they let Harry Kane drop deep and dictate play, and then the fullbacks can push on. Again, we're not going to see that level happening again. The battle between Chelsea, I think, is going to be really interesting. I don't really know what happens with Sessegnon and Perisic going forward. I think it's probably Sessegnon's place to lose now. I guess he starts against Chelsea, and then it's difficult. I mean, if Spurs win that game again, then it's going to be really hard to keep faith in Perisic, because I'm hoping.
You're going to hold him this week, right? Because you've got other fires to play out, I guess.
I'm going to hold him this week and just assess, but the risks always are the price rises and drops and all that kind of thing. And yeah, I'm going to hold him because I don't have to play him this week. It's not the best fixture anyway, and I've got Mount, so I don't think I want to be playing the clash. So that's why I'm probably going to just play Pereira and assess, because I think there is a chance that Perisic does come in against Chelsea, because if he's looking for the experience of him, or maybe he comes on, for session and plays well and gets the nod in the next game. I don't know. It's difficult. It's one game week, right? We need more information. So if I hold, I've got a bit more information. So holding for now.
But what we do know is there's going to be substitutions in that position for Spurs, right? You're not going to get 70, 80 minutes out of your wing backs there. So, I mean, we'll keep track of it as we go. There was, as I said, not any major surprises really in the teams that use 5 subs or the nature of those subs, but it's 1 week. Let's see what the patterns are after a while.
Yep. Very good. Nunez then. So I did see a few people flirting with Nunez pre-season. I don't think anyone actually had the balls to go for him, but I did see a few people, contemplating it. I think it was pretty divided. I thought he'd probably start, but he didn't. He came off the bench again. Firmino was really ineffective. I can't see that ever happening again. I think that's probably Firmino done in that side now until Champions League rotation maybe kicks in. But I mean, Nunez has changed the game, didn't he? I mean, Fulham played absolutely brilliantly. I wasn't expecting that level of performance. They were so sharp. They were so quick to every ball. Mitrovic was just an absolute beast. I was slating Pereira, who was, I think might have been with Luke. I said that I didn't think he was that good. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. He was playing the furthest forward at times. He was pressing everyone. He was on all the set pieces. Yeah, really, really encouraging signs for them. I'm guessing you were, before we talk about Nunez, I'm guessing you were pretty impressed with Fulham as well, right?
Yeah, and it made me worry about Forest, because what I see with Fulham is the strict pattern of play that Marco Silva instilled last season. There again, you saw Pereira in the role that Carvalho played before we were left for Liverpool, and Pereira did it very well. They all know how each other plays. They all know their responsibilities. They all know Mitrovic is the key. Get the ball into him where they can. He knows his role and position so well. It's a well-oiled machine, and they coped at the back. I thought that was where the problems were going to be. Yeah, they conceded 2 goals, but they actually played well defensively, I think. They were well organised. So, brilliant for Fulham. And we've now got a, obviously Mitrovic is a factor. He was going to be for me. I was going to get him in on the wild card in 5 or 6 probably because of the fixtures. I didn't expect them to hit the ground running like they have. Now suddenly he's a factor immediately, I think. So, yeah, it's great. From a Liverpool perspective, it was a very disappointing performance, I thought, all over, really. And it wasn't until the end. And in fact, the substitutions turns the game. And, they got the injury to Thiago. Elliott came on. And as the 2 diagrams that we're showing here are before and after the substitutions. And Elliott, 19, as you see there, is pushed right over to the right-hand side where 11 Salah and 66 Trent are playing. And they created that overload there. And suddenly there was more room for Salah, more room for Trent. And it caused Fulham a lot of problems. Robinson did really well against Salah all game until that point, when obviously he was more stretched because of Elliott's presence over there. And if you remember last season, Trent's really good spell coincided with when Elliott came into the team and freed him up to take that inside channel a lot more. And he had Elliott behind so he could get forward more. That's something to watch for, given Thiago's injury. If Elliott comes in, Henderson moves to the middle, Elliott goes out right, it could be that again. But Darwin, furthest forward, 27 here in this chart, he changed everything, didn't he? And he did what he did in the Charity Shield or Community Shield, goal and assist, turn the game round. But yeah, so I think it's too early to make any assumptions that he's going to start. I think we need a few more games, and I think we need to see how Liverpool play. But there are changes, and this is, again, one of the kind of rationale between not going Salah at the start was to see how this would, work out. It's still, we've got to study this, but something is happening at Liverpool, I think, in terms of changing the way they attack.
Yeah, I agree. And I think what we see with Nunez is someone who, when we saw it in pre-season, someone who's just going to be, he's got a good knack of just being in the right places. I think he's a good technical footballer, but I think he's going to score some scrappy goals just because he's got a really good awareness of where to be. And when you've got Trent and Robertson down the flanks, whipping in balls like they're both capable of doing, he's just going to mop those up, I think, all season. And I do wonder if Salah's output will be diminished. I mean, I thought, I think Salah came alive when, I think Elliott is good for Salah as well, because you talk about that overload down the right. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see how that kind of partnership works between Salah and Nunez. That's going to be kind of key. Because, I mean, we're not even talking about Diaz. We haven't even mentioned him yet. I mean, he was excellent as well, and so unlucky not to get something. He scored that disallowed goal. Every time he got the ball, not owning him, it had that kind of heart in my mouth thing of being like, oh God, he's going to get something out of this.
Yeah, I still don't think he did enough. I don't think he did enough yet. I think there's more to come from him. I think what we've got to say is, well, Salah did have a disappointing game, and yes, it came good for him at the end. But in how many games are they going to be 2-1 down with 20 minutes to go? How many games is that going to be the scenario? So he only came alive when Liverpool were in clutch mode, basically, when they had to throw things forward. You know, another 10 minutes, it would have been Van Dijk up there. So it's very difficult to judge on that game because it was quite a unique thing in that Liverpool were losing 2-1 to a newly promoted side with 20 minutes to go. That might not happen a lot.
It was one of the
Liverpool
most
start playing better.
It was one of the most lethargic performances I've seen on the club of Liverpool. Not what I'd expect from them on the opening day, and not what you expect from them against teams like Fulham, because they don't normally take games like that for granted. Normally they kind of match the energy and it builds them up. But Fulham was superior to Liverpool for pretty much the entire game, and in the end it was some class. That it was a great assist from Salah, great run from Nunez, great finish, and all of that kind of managed to salve them the draw. But they didn't deserve to draw that game, definitely not.
It was a good finish in that, but it got deflected onto him. Salah's goal was a missed kick, I think, by Darwin that ended up in the path for Salah and he tucked it away.
But that's what I mean about Nunez. That's what I mean about Nunez.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get these
bits and pieces. Yeah.
I call them good because they're they're the right things to do. But I think they're just going to end up going in off his arse and his shoulders and everything. Just it'll just find a way to get goals in. I think that's great. That's a great signing to have in your team, and definitely something that we're going to consider. I think from FPL.
And it is only one game, but things have been. It's not just me who's noticed this. I think the Athletic have done an article on it recently, straight away, about the threat that Nunez gives on the near post. I think there's a screen about that in there as well that I've done that shows that the near post area is where you can profit from crosses from that side, from Salah's side, and it's just whether or not that's the tactic they're going to play. What you're showing now are the touch maps for Diaz, Salah, Robertson and Trent. So this is both wings. And what's interesting that I noticed there is there's a couple of things. Salah was wide a lot of the game, as the touch map shows. He had a lot of touches out wide on the touchline. He came inside more when Elliott came on and when they were chasing the game. But Salah being more wide and staying on touchline meant that Trent come down that channel. He's basically underlapping him, if you like, rather than overlapping him, and he's going down the central channel. Whereas the other side, Diaz comes in off the touchline more and Robertson overlaps. And you can see from the Robertson-Diaz touch maps just how dangerous they are on the far post. Obviously, they're used to having Mane there. And Klopp has obviously said, look, we don't want to lose that quality from our game. When Trent's going down that inside channel, we need someone on the far post, whether it be Robertson or Diaz, to find those deep crosses, whereas Nunez is going near post and Salah's staying wide to deliver that ball. So maybe that's what it is, right? We saw it. We saw a bit of it in the Community Shield. We need more evidence, right? This is a theory at the moment. But it's out there and it's something to watch, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at this heat map as a Robertson owner and thinking that's very encouraging. There's touches in the box there. That's a winger's kind of touch map. So yeah, I'm happy with the Salah, Trent and Robertson triple that I've got, but it will be interesting, I think, from Gameweek 3 to start seeing how people maybe shift to Nunez. And if Diaz blanks again, for example, in the next game, I think we are going to start seeing that shift to three up top. So this must be the one you were talking about, the near post, right? Darwin theory. This is from the Athletic.
Yeah, so the Athletic just latching onto the fact that they're seeing that change. It was a really good article, and the chart there shows that when you're crossing from the right-hand side, 45% success rate, or 45% of the assists are generated from crosses to the near post, right? So when crossing from the right, near post is what you look for. I guess it's the same on the left as well. So near post is the crucial area. Now, in the past, Liverpool have lived off Mane far post, right? Coming in the far post, much like Sterling did for City. They've not had a centre forward, though. They've not had Firmino's too deep. Jota's not really a traditional centre forward. Nunez definitely is. So are they looking for this near post run? Certainly Salah did it twice, didn't he? Once where basically he didn't pull off the flick and he missed that opportunity. They repeated the same move and he scored. So it's definitely something going there. Salah go wide, gets across in, Nunez runs near post, and Robertson, Diaz far post. They weren't in that instance, but that's what I think we've got to look for. Let's see. We need to give it more games. Liverpool at home next, so that's a different environment. Maybe Salah's not going to stay wide in that game. Maybe Nunez is not going to do near post runs. We'll have to see. But it's certainly there's change afoot, I think.
You have got bloody unlucky, haven't you, from day one of no Salah. I mean, Fulham putting in like the best performance probably they're going to have all season. Liverpool putting in probably the worst they've had all season. Yet Salah still comes away with double digits.
Yeah.
And Spurs win out 4-1 winners, and you just get one assist out of the two players. I mean, that is.
Yeah,
some variance.
It was hard to take. It was hard to take, but you run that risk with Salah. He can get goals out of nothing. We know that, but I doubt he'll have a quieter game this season. We'll have to see.
Yep. Mids, heavy hitter mids next. So we're looking at Salah, Son, De Bruyne, and even Raheem Sterling has made the cut. And what we've got on is kind of just stats from game one, and then the kind of heat maps. So I mean, you look at De Bruyne's, for example. It's a real all action display. He kind of pops up everywhere. He had 5 touches in the box, which is encouraging. That was more than everyone else, only by 1 though. Again, we're dealing with such small sort of sample size. Just to really caveat that we're trying to make the best we can with it, but at least De Bruyne is matching some of these more kind of attacking modes, because some people were saying that he shifted into more of a DM role, but that's not what the kind of heat map and the other things. I was encouraged by that display. The goal ruled offside. I still thought he was playing like high up the pitch and getting close to Haaland sort of when he could. It's just the issue with De Bruyne is he's not got to match Haaland. He's got to outscore Haaland because he's more money. So come the end of the season, it's probably going to be quite close between them. But Haaland with pens, it's hard to back against him, isn't it? And I wouldn't be advising people to buy De Bruyne over Haaland. But what do you think about me? I've got him. I can't sell him yet, can I?
No, you got to stick with it. And I went in with Son and Kane with the tactic that one of them would move to a City player, and I half had in my head, well, actually more than half had in my head, that it would be De Bruyne, because I thought that if there was no convincing winner from them in the West Ham game, I would go with De Bruyne. But there was a convincing winner, I think. Yeah, De Bruyne and Gundogan playing the 8s, pushed forward or tucked inside with also the fullbacks behind them as well. We saw the inverted fullbacks from Pep again. He tried it a few seasons back. He's doing it again with Cancelo and Walker. Gundogan and De Bruyne kind of stretching the defence, push forward. And then Haaland, it's all about creating space for Haaland. And when the opponent's chasing the game, De Bruyne killed them, didn't he, with that through ball? And we're going to see a lot of that, certainly away from home. Space behind, Haaland's going to be unstoppable. But then again, we didn't know Ben Johnson was going to play centre-back. I mean, that that didn't help, did it? It didn't help West Ham, so maybe that was a bit of variance that went the way of those that went Haaland. I mean, had we known that they were going to start with Ben Johnson centre-back because they had injuries, perhaps more would have gone Haaland over Kane, don't know. But we didn't know that, and it didn't help West Ham. But I still think it was going to be tough to stop him the way that City set up. So, yeah, it's going to be up to teams to tactically beat that. It's not going to be easy. And, yeah, I wouldn't write De Bruyne off yet, but it is going to be tough for him, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were a little bit naive, weren't they, West Ham, I think, up against Haaland? Because Areola came on, Fabianski got injured, never helps when you have to make a goalkeeper sub. But I sensed that when Haaland was through, Areola just completely didn't expect him to be quick. I think he was just like, oh, it's another, like, Crouchy or something. Because the way he just ran out and then he kind of committed to diving and just probably thought he was just going to get the ball. And that burst of acceleration from Haaland, you don't see these like 6'4", 6'5" forwards being as quick as he is, and it just adds to everything else that he's got. I mean, you saw from his finish, hit just so calm, hitting over to his left foot and just slotting it in. The way he took the penalty, the confidence he's got, like with that, he's good in the air. He can hold the ball. Like he is an absolute wonderful player. Yeah, so
he's got everything, right?
Yeah, I'm not sitting here and saying, I'm going to go without. I mean, this was amazing. We've got 11 million combined rank. You haven't got Salah, and I haven't got Haaland for game week 2. The two probably best players in the best ever fantasy football player we've ever had, and probably the best fantasy football player we're ever going to have in Haaland, and we haven't got either of them. So yeah, that sums it up, doesn't it?
Well, between us, we haven't got even. I've got Haaland now.
Well, but actually, between us, we've got both of them. So maybe we are on something. Yeah, that's a positive way.
Son, I was pleased with. I mean, that was another thing why I've gone Haaland, because Son, for me, had a performance, 4 shots in the box and 4 chances created. He was busy. There wasn't the quality that we normally associate with Son. That's why he only ended up with 1 assist. But I saw plenty there to think that he's going to be absolutely key to Spurs, and I fancy him at Chelsea. I think
he was a naughty boy.
Chelsea. What's on? In what way?
When he didn't pass that ball to Kane.
Oh yeah. Kane wasn't very happy with him, was he?
That was naughty. I was very unlike him. Well, not really unlike him, but it's unlike that kind of understanding that they've got.
You do wonder with the Golden Boot being won by Son last season, whether now there is some debate.
Oh, here we go.
Like, actually, you're not the goal scorer anymore. It's me as well, right? I wonder whether there's not been a power shift, but maybe there's, because before it was always Kane gets the goals, Son's there to chip in and provide some creativity. It's not really like that now. Son sees himself as a primary goal threat as well as Kane, I think, right? Would you not agree?
Yeah, I mean, Kane had an interesting performance. I mean, he was dropping deep. As again, he always does that now, but he was making the runs into the box with more urgency than I think a lot of the time that we saw, particularly in the first half of last season. So I think Kane Owens were unlucky. He had a good chance as well. He could have had that goal from Son. He could have had a couple in that match. So if it wasn't Haaland doing so well and it wasn't Chelsea next, I think a lot of people would be kind of happy to keep him. But I think the Kane to Haaland switch is the most obvious thing ever. But yeah, I never considered Kane at all pre-season, because if I want one of those two, I want Son, definitely. I think Son is I know Kane's got the pens, but Son to me is the superior player in the system that Conte has set up. So Kane was never an option for me, and I don't think he will be that much of a factor for us as long as Haaland's there, because it's going to be Haaland and Salah, I think, for the majority of people. It's really hard to go against those two.
It is, but I've done it, and I think the worry going forward is Richarlison might take minutes off of Son as well, right? Because he's right-sided, really. So we'll see how that goes. And if that is the case, I'll have to probably consider coming off him, going to Kulusevski, and then going Nunez up front with the money.
Yep.
But, there's options. There's options there now, right? There hasn't been options if he didn't go Salah in the Liverpool team. Now there are. There's Diaz, and there's probably Nunez as well. And that was key to my thinking too. Right?
It's very true, because it's a lot of money between Nunez and Salah. And if you think Nunez is going to get 20 goals this season, is there going to be 4 million difference between them? One to think about.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll see.
We've kind of talked about Salah. We've kind of done his thing, but I mean, Sterling's the other one on this list. Chelsea looked a bit lost, didn't they? Kind of from an attacking sense. I mean, Reece James was fine. I mean, he was really interesting. He was absolutely smashing the bonus points. He's on corners now. His corners were awful in that match. Absolutely dreadful. I don't know what he's doing taking corners from that side. But yeah, I think he's just the go-to option, isn't he? In that side. I mean, we've got
he got in bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got in bonus of a booking, didn't he, Reece James?
He did.
I mean, Sterling's on here because of the price point, right? So is he a factor? Certainly not yet. Will he be a factor later in the season? Maybe. But Tuchel's attack, it's not one we've liked to invest in since he's been there, really, is it? It's always been Tuchel's defence, his wing-backs. And I don't see that changing overnight based on what we saw at Goodison Park. But again, one game, Spurs is going to be really interesting. Really interesting.
Would you hold him if you had him, Sterling?
Yeah. I think you have to hold him because you've gone with him for a reason. Unless you've gone with him with a ploy that you're going to move to another player in game week 2. But I think at that price point, it's awkward, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's very much. I think for the majority of people, it's going to be get Haaland in, and if you've already got him, hold. Right, and I think if you have got players like Mount and Saka and even guys like Neto, Jesus, all these kind of guys, I think majority of us are just going to ride it out and give it at least a few weeks. I think that's the message that I'd urge people anyway. Is not panic too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Fair enough. Yeah.
Cool. Let's go down to the 8 million mids then. So we've got Mount here, we've got Diaz. But the kind of stand-up performers were Kulusevski and Saka really from the stats perspective. I mean, let's start with Kulusevski. He was absolutely brilliant. Again, given loads of space by Southampton, letting him cut in, letting him assist, letting him shoot, everything. He's not going to get that kind of space every game. And I mean, his XG non-penalty is 0.77, which is way higher than what he was averaging kind of last season. But he was getting returns a lot last season, despite having a not that great at XGI. So if he can push that up, he's going to do well better than an 8 million price tag.
Yeah, I think what we didn't know is Djenepo was going to start his side as wing back, right?
Yeah.
And that didn't work, did it? And I think again, this is when we're talking about models. Models won't know this kind of thing. This you've got to pick this up through tactical know-how or knowledge, ITK knowledge of what Southampton's team sheet was going to be. It highlights how something like that can actually just benefit a player and make you go that way. I'm sure if we'd have known in advance that Ralph was going to play Djenepo at wing back up against Kulusevski, we'd have been like, right, actually, I need to get on that. And lo and behold, he capitalised. But as you said, he did that last season a lot. But I think that was his first goal at home, though. Kulusevski. I think he's only been scoring away.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. So I think it's one of his biggest hauls at home. He's been a key player for Spurs away from home, not so much at home. But yeah, look at that touch map, really impressive. Him and Saka, if you look at the touch map,
Well, exactly.
him and Saka, they're the ones that stand out. And Saka, to be honest, was a little bit withdrawn in that game because he was helping Ben White out with Zaha, I think. I mean, he tended to track back quite a bit, as you can see from some of the touches. But he still got into the box a lot. He was still a menace when he got forward. And in the same way as Kulusevski, they've got those touches in the box. Whereas you look at Mount and Diaz, not so much. They're very similar. They're more withdrawn. They're a bit deeper. They're not pushed up as much. So it was a dilemma, wasn't it, pre-season, what 8 million midfielder you went with. If you went with Kulusevski, brilliant, great result, you stick with him. If you went with Saka, you definitely stick with him. Mount and Diaz, jury's out, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Kulusevski and Saka had the benefit of playing for a team who just really knew what they were about. They were had a good system. They were pinging the balls around. The opponents were kind of letting them sort of come at them as well. Whereas Mount and Diaz, they're both playing for teams that were massively struggled in that game. I mean, Chelsea just couldn't get a foothold really on it or create anything good, and ended up making a load of changes and just about kind of scrape the win. I mean, like I said, Everton didn't really threaten too much, and you always kind of sense it was going to be a Chelsea win, but they didn't look particularly kind of glamorous. And then Diaz as well, playing for Liverpool, who just could barely get any time on the ball because of the pressing that the Fulham had. So again, I'm not worried about any of these guys. I think all four of these players are going to be great value at 8 million over the season.
I think the worry for Diaz is Jota, because if Nunez is going to establish himself, then Jota's way into the team or the way off the bench is going to be on for Diaz. So that's something we've got to watch.
Yep. Very good. 4.5 million mids, going right the way down now.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about De Silva before. I think everyone was quite excited about him, but then he wasn't in the predicted lineups from Neil, and there's rumours of Damsgaard coming in to take that kind of role, and then De Silva ended up not playing as well, but came off the bench and scored. But yeah, Pereira, I mean, he's highly owned for a reason. I wasn't expecting him to be that good, to be honest. He was, like I've said earlier, I thought he was absolutely superb, and I think he actually is an option for us now to actually play in some of these games. I mean, Wolves, Brentford in the next two. Then it's tough. Arsenal, Brighton, Spurs, Chelsea. I mean, that's a really tough 4 games, particularly in the next 2 games. If you are looking to hold a transfer or just assess things a little bit more, there's no reason why you can't play Pereira in those 2. I think. Yeah,
I mean it's brilliant. I mean, the minute that game kicked off, 20 minutes in, I was like, well, this is handy. I'm glad I went.
Yeah.
With Pereira and the 4-5, I'm glad I went 4-4-2 because I nearly went bigger in midfield and went Neto in that spot and saved him in and elsewhere. But I think Pereira's a player to have. He's going to serve us well. He's on set pieces and he's in that 10 role. He's attacking enough where you can hope for points, right? And Fulham look good. So when the fixtures turn for them, like you say, he's a player that we can play without too much of a doubt about it, whether that being a massive downgrade. What I've highlighted here is the rotation between De Silva and Pereira is excellent right up to 17 when we get to redo our teams anyway. But the issue is De Silva getting in the team. Damsgaard signed today, so that now adds.
Oh, is that confirmed? I missed that.
I think that's confirmed, yeah. So without him as a factor, I think De Silva would have been someone we could look at, and then you could set up that rotation. A lot of people have gone into the season with De Silva and Pereira in order to free up cash. So I don't know. It might still be a thing. He's well thought of at Brentford. The supporters love him. I think Frank likes him. But Damsgaard, once he's settled in, you've got to think he's in that creative 10 role. So where does De Silva fit in? One to watch, but that rotation would be handy if De Silva can find starts, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about Damsgaard coming in, I mean, I'm imagining Damsgaard comes in at 5'5", right? They're not going to make him 6. I think that would be. I mean, they might make him 6, but if he does come in at 5, then he's an interesting kind of alternative to Neto. Because I mean, Neto's got Spurs in 3. I mean, then it's Newcastle. I mean, it's Bournemouth, Southampton. It's a pretty good run, but then the fixtures do turn. Yeah. But if we are looking for say from game week 7 when the wildcard's going to be played, if we're looking for that kind of cheap rotation, then maybe Damsgaard and Pereira's going to be the one.
Yeah, new players coming in, as we said. And hopefully they're going to be options, right? There's more to come before the window closes as well, of course. So again, it's early in the season and it's going to be shaken up by that. So yeah.
You're right, by the way. You did.
Yeah. Still here, not spinning.
Okay,
I'm all good. Got to keep moving.
I don't think we're going to do 2 hours today, Mark.
No, why not?
I mean, we've got the normal
There you go.
we've got the normal position stats, but I don't think we need to cover those.
Don't need
one
to go
by
through
one.
them. How much value can you get from one game week at the moment? I think maybe next week.
Yeah. All these suckers, 1,800 listening to us now. What value you get from us? That is a lot of people watching, by the way. I didn't realize there was that many. Don't forget to like the video if you are enjoying it. If you enjoyed all the technical problems at the start, we'd really appreciate you to like it. We've got 246 likes, 1,815 watching. Do give us a like. Do make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well. Otherwise, how will you know when different live videos are going up after technical problems? You won't know where to find them.
We did about 7 tonight, didn't we?
Exactly.
So,
You missed out on 6 technical streams if you're not subscribed. But we do really appreciate it. If you could do that, that would be amazing. Right, let's move over to predictions then. So
we do well.
We did amazingly well. Yeah, I mean, if we carry this on, it's going to be a good season for us with these. So you can see here for Game Week 1, the ones in gold are kind of the exact scores. I've got 3 of those, which is definitely a record for me, and 3 correct scores. So I got 60% right. You though get 7 right and one correct score.
And yeah, it doesn't help our FPL. So that trying to link predictions and how good we are at those to our FPL teams, which should help, but hasn't helped yet. So
no.
Let's see if we can keep that up.
I'm quite proud. I'm proud of 4-1 Spurs. That was a good one, and I'm very proud of 2-1 Brighton. That was one that, like, I remember Luke asked me, he's like, why do you think that? And I was just, I don't know. It's just a feeling, just a vibe I'm getting that we're going to win that game.
And you said Danny Welbeck will have a field day, didn't you?
He was great. We haven't talked about him, but he was genuinely excellent for anyone that is looking for a forward, which they're rare. I think he actually could be an option at the moment because we look good and he was excellent. So yeah, one to think about.
He stays fit.
If he stays fit, yeah. Okay, let's take a look at our predictions for next week. So it's Villa Everton next. We've both gone for a 1-0 Villa. I think I've gone for mine more hope than anything with Dean still in my team. You've gone for a 1-0 as well. I mean, that's rare for you to give Villa a win. It says something about Everton, probably.
Yeah, I mean, defensive woes for Everton. They lost both Godfrey and Mina, haven't they? Obviously, Cody's come in, but is it going to be an instant fix? It's going to be... I don't see many goals in the game because I think, obviously, Villa didn't look great shakes at Bournemouth. Everton don't have any cutting edge. I think 1 goal will win it. I've gone the way of Villa. I think Gerrard will get the result. First home game, crowd behind them and so on. I think they've got the more dangerous players, but there's definitely something wrong there. I mean, I think the fans want Buendia in the team. Coutinho's not playing very well, but obviously Gerrard is almost wedded to Coutinho, isn't he? What do you make of Bailey? I mean, he got 90 minutes, which is odd. It seemed like we thought he was going to be a threat in terms of being hooked on an hour. Everyone else got taken off apart from him. If you got him, would you hold him?
Yeah, I think you have to, especially for this one. I mean, then it's a really tough run of games, but I think you've kind of already bought into that. If you've got him, you knew it was going to turn, and maybe you've got a defender on your bench who can come in. Maybe if you've got Pereira now, he's someone that could come in around that time. Although his games aren't easy. It's one of the reasons why I didn't really want to go for Bailey, because I just thought from game week 3 I'm going to be kind of not really knowing where to go with that. But the Watkins news is surely good for his minutes because it means Gerrard kind of has to stick with that system. Or it means he pushes him up even further and puts him alongside Ings. So I think if you've got Bailey, I think you hope that Watkins moves and they don't buy anyone else.
It took me by surprise that Watkins, because I thought it was going to be like, how does Gerrard get both Ings and Watkins in the team? It looks like that isn't going to be a thing. So Bailey's got a chance.
He was all right. He was all right. Bailey. I think 5 million is very underpriced for him, and he should outscore it as long as he's in the side. But it's just the question marks around Villa, isn't it?
Yeah. And what can you do? Get Pereira in and spend a bit more in defence. Maybe that's the way. So that's the thing.
Yep. Arsenal-Leicester next. You've gone for a very comprehensive 3-0 Arsenal win. I've gone for a slightly less comprehensive 2-1. I think Arsenal are a little bit vulnerable still defensively. I think teams can get that at them, and Leicester haven't sold all their players yet. So with Vardy and Maddison there. Is Barnes back? Was he still a couple of weeks away? They'll be better when he.
I haven't heard yet.
No. Neil
will tell us, but I don't think we've got to think he's out of the equation. He'll be on the bench at best, won't he? But I mean, think for me, Leicester gave up a lot of ground, to Brentford. They gave opportunities away. Tony could have got another one, that header on the far post. I look at that and think they're still vulnerable. Obviously, the goalkeeper situation's not great for them either. I think Ward's a capable keeper, but he's still the defence is still getting used to not having Schmeichel there. He's been there for years. I think Arsenal are too good at the moment. I see them winning comfortably. That's it for me. Arsenal look good at Palace for me in an attacking term, and I think that was a difficult game for Arsenal. I didn't expect them to win it like they did, and they looked an efficient machine. And I think at home, first home game, we've got to factor that in.
Yeah,
I think a handsome win for Arsenal.
Yeah, I've gone for the win as well. Brighton Newcastle, I've gone for another 2-1 Brighton. You've gone for the reverse, a comfortable 2-0 Newcastle win. If it was at St James's Park, I'd agree with you, but to be honest, we're not great at home either. It could go either way, this one. If I just keep predicting 2-1 Brighton wins, though, then they keep winning 2-1, then I'll just keep doing that and then just won't jinx them.
That's the secret.
It should be an interesting game.
I just think Newcastle.
Yeah,
it will be. It's a tight one, this. I think Newcastle have got the wind in their sails after last season. There's a lot of momentum with them, and Guimaraes was fantastic. Your man Guimaraes. It'd be painful if he's the difference in this game. He was fantastic against Forest. And Wilson's fit still, right? So while Wilson's fit, they can score goals. If Wilson gets injured, then it's Newcastle aren't going to win games 2-0 away from home. But I think at the moment I'll back them here.
Yeah, the midfield battle's going to be interesting because again, Casado was excellent, but and McAllister's kind of playing in there now as well, and we've kind of got options. But that Newcastle midfield does look strong with Guimaraes and Joe Linton. Like, you can't lie, he's a beast in that role. So that's where it's going to be won. City Bournemouth both gone for a 4-0. Oh, I am dreading this game, not having Haaland.
Well, even with 4-0, yeah, you'll do well out of that, surely. I mean, it's like, Spurs beat Southampton 4-1 and I got an assist. You'd hope if City do win 4-0, you'll get more than one assist, surely, with De Bruyne. He sets the
like I said though, he's got to outscore him for it to be worth it. The thing is, I think if De Bruyne does all right in this game, then I will probably just continue to ride it out and just hope that he matches him and probably until I wildcard. Because the thing is, it's 2 transfers, right? I've got if I want to get Haaland, it'll mean going to a 4.5 mid and then going up to Haaland and from a striker. So I'm hoping I can just kind of get away with it, but I don't know. I don't feel great about it. But yeah, I mean, it should be a routine City win. I know Bournemouth were good, but come on.
I think, you can only see it going that way. I mean, it might be more difficult, as I said, with the low block. Bournemouth will be organised, and it depends when that first goal arrives. If they get the first goal in the first half an hour, it's going to be a big scoreline, I think.
Yep.
But if Bournemouth get to half time, maybe they'll get away with a 1 or 2-0. So we don't know. It's game week 1. It's hard to say. Bournemouth will go in confident because they got the victory. But how confident they're going to be when they start seeing Haaland sprinting?
They're just not going to see the ball. They're going to have to play so deep, and they just haven't got the players to win the ball back. It could be bad, but yeah, we'll see. It depends what kind of mood City are in. I think if they really want to put on a show, it's going to
test City because we take it for granted that they won at West Ham, so they're in the groove. But the home game against the low block, we'll see how fluid City are, because that's the difficulty. And Pep always liked to play his technical players. He liked to play Silva. He liked to play Sterling. He maybe won't have Bernardo and Sterling.
True.
So they've got to learn to play without that kind of player now. And you look at Haaland. He's not one of those like tight corners, get out with nifty footwork. He needs service against the low block. So we'll see how they do. It's going to be a very interesting game.
I just remember whenever they used to go against Burnley, it was just to be like, okay, Dyche is going to set his men up for this low block. He's going to really frustrate City. And then every game, it was like, 7-6, 7-0. It's like, oh, yeah.
It's that first goal, isn't it? If it goes in the first 20 minutes, it's like, oh, no.
It's just so hard to know how to play against City. Because against Liverpool, you feel like if you can match the press and force them into mistakes, few teams can do it because the fitness has got to be so high. And you got to play like a flawless game like Fulham almost did. But against City, it's tough because if you start pressing, you're caught out of position, and then they've got the players that can just pass one pass and take you around. They've got so many players capable of that killer pass. Whereas Liverpool are more about the pace and the running in behind and stuff. But now
3 o'clock afternoon kickoff in the hot sun, and you haven't got any of the ball.
No.
Not going to be easy, is it?
No, it's going to be. Might change that 4-0. Southampton Leeds. I didn't really know what to do with this one. I went for a 2-2. You went for a 2-1 Leeds. You always back Leeds, so I'm not too surprised by that. I mean, Southampton were poor. I've said it multiple times for this stream. I don't particularly like Salisu. I don't know what Valerie's doing at centre back either. I don't know what Giannapu's doing at left wing back. There's probably
Weird lineup.
they're selling Che Adams, I think.
Che Adams not playing. What's going on there? I mean,
Like Armstrong up front.
well, Adam Armstrong started it, then Stewart came on, didn't
Yeah.
he? I thought Stewart would start. It was an odd lineup from Mouth. I think who's on the left for Leeds? Is it Harrison? I guess right. So he got 7 key passes, I think, in the first game. If he's up against Janapo, and if that's a thing again, like Kulusevski was, then that's going to be trouble, right? So Harrison could be a key player in this game. I think Leeds look good. I like what I saw. They're going to concede chances, you've got to think, but have Southampton got a cutting edge? No, probably not at the moment. So I think maybe an error-strewn victory for Leeds.
Yeah,
I'll say.
I've got them to go down, Southampton, in my predictions. I just don't think they've got enough this year. We say that every year. Wolves, Fulham. I've gone for a Fulham 2-1. I don't like that Wolves back line at all. With Cody leaving, going back to a 4 and Kilman there as well. Who's he partnered with? Kilman, with the new guy, right?
With Collins, yeah.
Nathan Collins.
Yeah.
I don't
Good
like.
player.
Yeah, I don't.
Don't
I think it's very very gettable, and I think Fulham buzzing off the back of that. The only thing is, can Fulham do that again? Can they do that every game? That level of intensity and press? Because if they can, they'll do well this year. But it's tough to keep that up. You've gone for a 2-2.
Yeah, I think there'll be goals. It
Could be
looks
goals,
like
yeah.
Wolves will have a threat. Jumping to conclusions off one game, it's hard to say, but I don't back either defence here, and I think both teams have got threat. So a score draw is probably my favourite result, and I've gone 2-2. Why not? Yeah.
I've gone for United win, 2-1 against Brentford. You've gone for a 1-1.
Why have you gone United win? What's your logic?
They've got to win some games this season.
That's as good a logic as any.
Well, I don't think Brentford were that great against Leicester. I thought, Leicester. I think Rodgers taking Dewsbury Hall off kind of cost them that, and then they just retreated, and then they kind of got through. I think United's, they have got players that can occasionally turn up and do something, and I think a team like Brentford, who I still feel they've got some defensive injuries, they're still in a bit of transition a little bit. I think this is going to be the kind of game that United should pick up points in. I mean, if they lose this or if they draw this and they've only got 1 point out of Brighton and Brentford, that is an absolute disaster start for
going into Liverpool.
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think United will find a way in this one, but I don't think it'll be pretty. But I think they'll just about do it.
I don't see it.
No.
I mean, I think they'll be lucky to get a draw, because I think Brentford, front the home fans, look what they did against Arsenal in their first home game last season. Damsgaard in, probably will come off the bench. Momentum with them after getting the 2 goals back at Leicester. Frank will have United worked out, I think. I didn't see a lot from United to make me think they got enough to win this game, and I think they might even be hanging on for part of it. Set piece threat, and they've got the new centre back who's 5'1", is he? So that's going to be an issue at set pieces.
I'm not allowed to say anything about him because I've already been critical. I've already been critical of him.
Martinez, right? So he didn't look comfortable. I mean, Brighton got after him straight away, and Lallana came out and said that was one of their tactics. So Frank's going to do that. He's going to go after him.
Well, I can't. I will just say one more thing about Martinez, and that's I don't see a partnership of Martinez and Maguire being successful, because
he's a good player.
He is. Don't get me wrong. Martinez is a very very good technical player, but he's not tall, and he's going to need help from set pieces. Maguire, for all of his height, isn't that great in the air. De Gea flaps at everything that comes through.
I think he is. I think he's good in the air, but I think his concentration's not good, right? So he makes
that's what
mistakes.
I mean, mistakes come through, right? I mean, he doesn't score any goals up the other end of the pitch, even though he should be the most tall, imposing person ever. And he does get his head on stuff, but not all the time. And he's got mistakes in him. And I think Martinez is going to need to play with someone who just clears up anything that just sails over him. And I'm not sure that's Maguire.
We saw Brentford against Arsenal. They targeted Ben White, so they're gonna target Martinez, aren't they? They're gonna go Tony, get on him. And at set pieces, United are going to struggle, I think, because Brentford have got big guys. So I think they're going to, it's going to be an issue for them. We'll see, but they might get away with a draw.
Yeah,
which is strange saying that. I mean,
I can't believe they're playing McTominay and Fred another year of them. I mean, I would just be tearing my hair out.
It's the best they've got at the moment, right?
Yeah, McFred. Oh dear. Garden Centre game. Next, Forest West Ham. I stole that joke from the chat. I will just give credit to Greg in the chat.
I guarantee it won't be a Garden Centre game. I guarantee this will be like a cup final. I think it's going to be a good game. So,
and you've gone for a 2-2.
Yeah.
That is so
Well, West
hopeful.
Ham, right? No centre back. Well, got one centre back. There to be got at. I think it's going to be an occasion. The crowd's going to be incredible. The occasion's going to be incredible, and I think we'll rise to it. I think it'll be like we'll try and make it a cup game, like we did against, like they were against Arsenal, Leicester, and Liverpool. And if we can make it a cup game, if we can get amongst them and we can get some encouragement, and the crowd get behind them through the game, we might get something from it. And I think we can score. So I've gone for a dramatic late equaliser to make it 2-2.
Oh, wow.
And everyone's on the pitch. Not me, though. I don't want to keep my ticket. But yeah.
Oh, you're going to this one?
Oh, yeah, I'm there.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, nice. I've just gone for a comfortable West Ham win. Sorry. I just think they're a much better team who have played together for quite a while, and they've got, they're Moyes he's a system manager, right? And they all know their roles, whereas Forest don't, from what I saw. They're just all over the place. There's too many new players. They need time to bed in. I think it's going to be a really, really difficult start for Forest. They're the team that I think will struggle the most over the opening 6-7.
Yeah, I think I said this. I said we were going to, right? It's valid. I just think the occasion might carry us through. I'm very, I think the next game I'm going to is home to Spurs, and I'm going to go to that game with Son in my team, I expect. Head against heart, I should be captaining Son away at Forest, shouldn't I, really?
Can you bear to do that?
I should, but whether I will, I don't know. But yeah, Haaland might get me out of it. But I mean, hopefully we'll settle down a bit by then, because Spurs could tear us a bit apart, but we'll have to see.
Chelsea Spurs next. I've gone for a Chelsea win here. I've gone for a 2-1.
What's your logic there?
I've gone for a 2-1. You've gone for a 3-1 Spurs. I think. Yeah. I mean, I think Conte's putting a lot of trust in the team that kind of did well for them last year. He didn't put in any of the new signings, for example. And Chelsea have a very, very good record against Spurs. They're going to be well up for this, and Spurs are going to be like desperate to kind of prove something here. But I think this is a big game for Tuchel, because it's going to show where that kind of Chelsea side are. But I think with the home fans, I think they're just going to squeeze out a narrow win here, and then I think that's going to see some more of Spurs' signings sort of coming into the fray. It's not based on a lot. I think on paper, actually, Spurs are the better side. But I think the home going away to Stamford Bridge when they're going to be so up for this game is going to be really tricky. So I'm just going for a narrow Chelsea win.
I think Spurs defensively are underrated. I think under Conte we saw the defence improve a lot. So, and Chelsea didn't look that great in attacking terms at Everton. So I don't know that Chelsea are going to penetrate the Spurs defence very often. Sterling's going to be a factor, but outside of Sterling, I don't see where the goals are coming from unless it's a set play. So I think Chelsea will be limited in terms of chances they'll get. And then up front, now if Spurs the home team, they've got to come at Spurs. That is going to play into their hands, isn't it? With Son and Kane and Kulusevski, I think it's going to be hard to contain them. And the Spurs defence, Chelsea defence, looked okay at Everton, but it wasn't tested really. And I think I saw some things there. They've got mistakes in them still, I think. And I just see an away win.
I think one of the key battles is going to be at wing back, right? Because both these managers are that is kind of their main attacking outlets. And I think James and Chilwell are better than Sessegnon and Royale, who I think are going to start, even though they both played well in the last game, which is what makes me think this might be where we see Perisic come in for the big game, although it would be really harsh on Sessegnon if he didn't play. I think if it's Sessegnon and Royale, I think Chelsea could win that wing-back battle. And then
James might not be at wing-back. James might have to play centre-back to counter Son. Right, that's the talk. So
really?
Well, unless they bring Chalobah in for a bit of pace. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if... I wouldn't fancy him in getting Son on Thiago. Thiago's starting to look his age a little bit. His class showed at Goodison Park still, but there was moments where he was left one-on-one, I think, with Gray, and he looked back as if to say, bloody hell, don't do that again. He looked like...
Well, yeah, that's true.
He looked like a dad playing with his kids at that point. It was like, I've still got it in me, but don't ask me to do that again. I think they're going to need a bit of extra pace in there. Koulibaly's not slow, obviously, but will they start with Chalobah or will they put Reece James back there? It'd be interesting to see what they do. But
again, it's going to be the midfield as well, because if Kane is allowed to kind of have space in midfield and thread those balls through to Son, then I agree they're going to struggle. But there's no way he's going to get the time that he did against Southampton. Jorginho, Kante. I mean, Kante's interesting, wasn't he? Because a couple of years ago he was just the absolute powerhouse, but he's not the same player that he was back then. How much pressure can he kind of put those midfielders under? Chelsea are going to hope it's a lot, because if they can do that and win that battle, I think they're stronger at wing back as well. Get those crosses in, then we'll see. But yeah, if James plays at centre back, which he might have to, you're right. Then what we're going to see? What, Loftus-Cheek at right wing back again, or
Pulisic,
Hudson-Odoi, or none? I mean, none of. If one of those lines up there, then yeah, I think that.
We'll have to see. It depends if Tuchel goes and attacks Spurs, or whether he goes, we need to change things up to contain the threat. So let's see what he goes with his team lineup.
Yep. And the final game is Liverpool-Palace. We've both gone for a 2-0. Liverpool, again, Liverpool, poor performance. I thought Palace were okay against Arsenal, but lost. I can't see Palace troubling them too much. Surely Liverpool are going to pick themselves up and be a better side. And Elliott, like we've talked about, is going to be interesting to see his role and how that affects everyone else.
Well, is he going to play? Because I saw some things like they could switch to 4-2-3-1. They could play Firmino and Nunez up front, with Firmino and Salah and Diaz wide. So they could choose this to move to that system. There was talk pre-season they might move to that system eventually. Maybe he uses the injury to do that. I think it's more likely Elliott comes in and Henderson moves to the middle, but we'll have to see. They've got other options as well, but it will be in there. Maybe they'll do the 4-2-3-1 straight away. Maybe they will.
Yep, interesting. Captain Matrix, it's back. It's Haaland v Bournemouth. He's the number 1 pick. Oh dear. Differential options. Salah, it's not going to be very often he's going to be there, but there he is. Then De Bruyne. I mean, then there are some other good options. I mean, Cancelo, for example, in defence. Trent versus Palace. Nunez, if you want to take a punt on him. And then the kind of Arsenal players. I mean, realistically, everyone that's got Haaland is going to captain Haaland, aren't they?
Do you see it like that?
His EO's going to be like, what, 150, 160% probably straight away?
He's going to be the bigger captain in terms of volume, yeah. I don't doubt that. I mean, I haven't got.
Was that a cat?
That was a cat outside. I got my shed door open. We got some animals intervening on our episode this week. I've got to have the shed door open. I'll melt.
It'd be great if that was at a really dramatic moment, just like
talking about Salah. So maybe that's the panic in me. I think Salah was a differentiator, but maybe that's doing him an injustice. It's pretty close. Well, it is close between Haaland and Salah. My mind is made up because I haven't got Salah, so it's an easy choice for me. I haven't given myself that dilemma, but I think it's difficult. It's not much in it. The extra point, of course, the clean sheet point. Haaland's only going to get 70 minutes probably if they're winning convincingly. So it's not an open shut case. Going down, it's interesting. Like game week 3, I've got Son, so I think Son and Kane at home to Wolves is the better captain. Haaland at Newcastle, Salah at United. When a lot of people are saying, look at Salah at United, you're going to be collapsed against Liverpool. I mean, it's one game, but you've got to think there's probably something in it for Salah. But I still
definitely going Salah in that.
Yeah, are you going Salah over? If you had Haaland and Son, who would you go with?
I'd go for Salah.
Would you?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I
just really like that fixture for Liverpool at the moment.
And then it's Salah in the next game against Bournemouth.
Match of day challenge potentially.
Yeah, definitely. Then we've got Then we've got the Haaland against Forest and the Salah at home to Newcastle. It's got to be Haaland there. You got to think, haven't you?
That's Newcastle be rough viewing, isn't it?
Newcastle will be I mean, and then the game week 6 is really interesting because it's really tight. I would say Salah at Everton away, Haaland at Villa away, and Son at Fulham at home. That's not easy, is it? I think I'd probably favour Son there, but it depends what Salah and Haaland have done to that point. Is Everton away an easy game for Salah? I don't think it is because it's obviously
you've got De Bruyne and Cancelo v Villa at home and Haaland versus Villa away. Are they at home or away?
Oh right, sorry. That's a good question. Can you check that? Let me see. I think they're at home.
Okay, if they're at home, then
I'm pretty sure.
I think.
Let me check that.
Villa could be in real problem by now.
Bad. Yeah, I think I'm going to check that so we get that right. But I think that game week 6 is a really tight one. Other than that,
they're away.
I think
the
matrix is probably pretty accurate. Right, okay. So yeah, I think game week 6 is one to look forward to, as in we're going to have a difficult choice there in that week, I think. But it's going to be fascinating whether Haaland does enough in these next couple of weeks to make us think we can't take it off him. Is he going to do what Suarez did and just be so consistent with his scoring? The ceiling with Salah is going to be higher because of that extra point, midfielder and clean sheet. But the consistency, if Haaland's scoring almost every game, that will probably win the race, right? In terms of where.
Or maybe everyone will be switching to De Bruyne in a few weeks.
Maybe. Maybe.
I can't see it.
I hope for your sake. Yeah,
right, thanks, Mark. Captain's data, again, not exactly a huge amount to go on here. If you do like your one data game week samples, then Nunez is top of that with an XGI non-penalty of 1.49. Haaland with 1.11, which is high, considering he's got penalties as well. Then there's quite a drop off from the likes of Son, Salah, De Bruyne, all 0.6, 0.5, 0.4, all of that. So yeah, go for Nunez if you want to go for that. No,
nothing to see here. I mean, is Nunez going to emerge as a captain option once he's in the team regularly? That's he's not on the matrix at the moment as a favoured option. How long before he is? Perhaps he's going to emerge as that as well. That would be fascinating. I mean, that'll be the kind of twist we need to make it more interesting. But the early signs are he could, right? So we'll see.
I can't wait till we got a bit of data again. 7 weeks of data. Once we got that back, we'll be
exactly
back to our best. We were going to do a segment called As versus the Model. We're not going to do that because I'm going to lose and that would just be embarrassing. But what we have got here is model captains, which is nice. Simulated points from the model, which is cool.
Yeah, this is Salah versus Haaland, right? And John put this up today on Twitter, and I thought it was interesting because it shows the floor and ceiling situation. Obviously, on the podcast you can't see this, but what you're seeing is it's basically the simulations that FPL Review ran to generate the expected value scores for Haaland and Salah. It is very close between them, but what you see from the chart is Salah's got that ceiling of over 30 points possibly, and Haaland probably more consistent, more likely to get something, but his ceiling's not as high. So that's what we're going to face for probably most of the season, and that's what the model is showing us.
That brings minutes into it as well, right? The expected minutes will probably bring Haaland down quite a bit.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a factor we've got to consider too, isn't it? Yeah. We're buffering again, I think.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, we're buffering again.
Not at this stage.
Right at the end, that's strange. Oh, well, we'll carry on for the podcast, right?
Yep. Can anyone...
I think we're going to have to.
Stream
at least we'll get the podcast episode up.
Yeah. Skip it.
It's gone, isn't it? It's gone for me as well. But I think if we carry on, I'll edit this out and we'll carry on.
Someone's saying it's fine.
Out, won't we? So.
Hang in there, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Right.
Just waiting for an advert to load and then I'll... So many adverts on this channel. God, disgusting.
Is that your connection again? It's really, really odd as well.
Don't really see it. Okay, no, all good. Everyone says it's fine. Okay, let's carry on. We've only got a few more bits to do. So let's just take a look at
teams, right?
Oh God, do we have to? Game week 2, and I'm already feeling so pessimistic about this. So I've got Ward in goal, Trent, Robertson, Cancelo, and Dean, and then Salah, De Bruyne captain, Mount, Neto, Pereira, Jesus, Iverson, Perisic, Archer, and Greenwood. No transfers for me. Just going to bank it, assess what to do with Perisic.
Oh, really?
Yep. Ideally, I'd like to keep De Bruyne for a little bit longer. And then what I'd like to do next week is do Dean and potentially Perisic out for Saliba and James. If Perisic doesn't... Obviously, if Perisic, if we get any signs that he's going to play, I'll probably keep him against Wolves. But I'm definitely looking at a Dean to Saliba downgrade for Game Week 3.
Right.
I mean, tell me it's not a terrible team, Mark.
I mean, have you thought about doing Jesus to Jesus to Nunez at some point? Is that something you got your eye on? Not yet, of course.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it's kind of how would I finance that? And I'd have to take out one of the 3 Liverpool players.
Yeah.
So I could do like Robertson down to James and then Jesus up to Nunez potentially. But I'm really encouraged by what I saw from Robertson in that first game. So I don't really think I'm going to want to touch those 3, to be honest. That could all change. I'm relatively... I mean, after Spurs, Chelsea have got a good run of fixtures. I'm happy to... he's got Leeds and Southampton, Mount, so I'm kind of happy with that. Neto, be interesting to see what his role in the team is, but I was kind of encouraged. I think Pereira's decent. But yeah, Dean's probably the one that I just... Dean and Perisic are my 2. My 3 concerns are Dean, Perisic and no Haaland.
Did you think for 1 minute about the wild card?
No. I didn't think about the wild card, but I did think about just getting Haaland in and doing De Bruyne and out and taking the -4 and just correcting that straight away. But I just thought I can give it another week and see.
Oh yeah, we don't know enough now. And De Bruyne could have a blockbuster week, definitely. They win heavily. He could definitely come out of it with a big score. I think Cancelo, talk a bit about him, because inverted wing fullbacks, deep in midfield, do you think that's going to benefit him? Or do you think we're going to get less out of him? I think 11 assists last season. Do you see us getting that with him playing in that position? He played well, but he didn't, his XGI was low.
Yeah.
And that needs monitoring, because I wonder whether Cancelo to Diaz is a way of getting money, right?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, the width really was coming from Foden and Grealish. They were so wide in that game, which you would think would help Cancelo a little bit, because it means he can kind of come inside a little bit more and push on. I think they really wanted the bodies in midfield in that game. Walker did it as well. Walker was playing almost as a midfielder for a lot of the game, just to give him that kind of extra strength. We don't often see Walker doing that, but he's kind of been now tasked with doing it until surely they're going to sign another fullback in that.
They are, yeah. They're after the Dortmund left back at the moment. So I think by the time the window closes, they'll have somebody in, and Walker will lose his place. Well, it will be in rotation. But I look at Cancelo to Diaz and think that's possibly $1 million saved there, because I don't know how heavily involved at the sharp end Cancelo is going to be if he's not out wide putting in crosses for. Because I had a vision of him being out wide, throwing in crosses for Haaland, and that would be magic.
I mean, against Bournemouth, he can almost just play wherever he wants. He's going to have almost a free role in midfield, which is really going to help him, I think. So I think in those kind of games, particularly when the fixtures are really nice, I'm not worried at all.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Cool. No, people aren't that happy with my team, which is sad. People could. Be nice.
Okay.
It's not optimal, Mark. That's the problem.
No, it definitely isn't. But I'm not going to be harsh with it.
Thanks, Mark.
That would go against everything I said about 2 hours ago. But no, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's different.
Yeah, I mean, your team unfortunately looks pretty good. Obviously, they haven't got Salah, but tricky-ish game against Palace. Ramsdale in goal, Cancelo, Walker, Robertson, Trent, Son, Diaz, Saka, Martinelli, Haaland, and sorry, I won't laugh every time I say Brennan Johnson's name. I promise. It's just funny when you read out all the other names.
Honestly,
Saka, Haaland, Cancelo, Son, Brennan.
Yeah, well, there isn't really a standout 6 million alternative at the moment. I'm going to do something with that. So I think I made a transfer this week. Kane's gone to Haaland. I got the price rise, and the price drop. I missed the price drop. Next week, I think I can roll, because I think I'm looking at barring any injury, and then game week 4, I've got to go into that with 2 transfers, with the idea that I make a decision between Diaz and Nunez at that point for the Bournemouth game, maybe. If Nunez has started the 2 games before game week 4, then a step down from Diaz to a 5 million, and then Johnson to Nunez could be on the cards. It's a shame De Silva's not going to get in the team, because that would have been lovely to do. I don't know. I've got to weigh it up, or I just go Johnson to Mitrovic and find $500,000 somewhere, which is going to be a lot easier, I think. So it might be that. But I'm going to roll next week. That's the plan. But you can say that sitting here now. I might have an injury, so we'll have to see. But but I like it. I mean, I'm confident in Arsenal. I think the clean sheets for City and Liverpool should be there as well, and I think Saka over Jesus could work out for me. Who knows? There's not a lot between those two, and I hope it goes my way, because that'll be a decent differential. And Son at Chelsea, I think they'll score. And if that's the case, hopefully this time Son gets more than an assist. But we'll have to see. Probably Kane will go gangbusters, right? That'll be
so typical.
Exactly like FPL.
That'd be so typical. Yeah, absolutely. It is typical. All this prep you do, and then everyone just thinks Spurs are going to win comfortably, and they do. And Eric Dyer scores, and Salisu scores the most comical own goal I think I've ever seen him. I don't know what he's trying to do with that. It's just very weird. Almost like forgets where the goal is and just kicks in his own net, and then Kane and Son end up nothing crazy. Couldn't write it. Excellent stuff. Black Box Leagues. We have Richard Milburn at the top. Massive score, 102 points. Do join up to the league if you haven't already. We really want to get that top spot again. It'd be amazing.
Again. Let's
absolutely.
Just mention that. Yeah.
The league code is 3V7DQ9. If anyone listening, in the middle of your screen right now. It's also in the description. So do join that league. Even if you've had a bad start to the season, do still join, because these things can turn around as we're hoping. There's 1,908 watching right now, which is amazing. Thank you all for bearing with us with the technical issues. We really appreciate it. Hopefully this has been fun. I've enjoyed it. It's been good to be doing it again, Mark. It's difficult with no stats, but it's been fun.
Yeah, and hopefully, given our ranks, 2 green arrows next week?
Oh God, sure. Oh God, if we were a red arrow next week.
Well, exactly. If we get red arrows, well, I mean, if Salah goes mad and Haaland goes mad, we could both. Well, I should be all right, but you're
Yeah, I
in
know.
trouble.
Oh dear.
Well, no, you have Salah, but you only have him as captain. It's difficult to say. I think it's a difficult scenario where we would get 2 reds, but it could happen.
Yeah.
We've both got our problems, so we're both nervous about it. So we'll see. We'll have to see how it goes. But it is early days, and I think this time last season I was like 300k in the world. I had a really good start, and then I struggled. I didn't really get up from that rank at all most of the season, and had a disappointing season. So maybe the bad start is the secret. Maybe rise like a phoenix is what we're going to do. But,
it goes against what we learnt last year, wasn't it? All the people in the top 10 all were in like well inside the top million by about forget that. Forget all the black box
details.
Stuff. Yeah.
Gloss over that. Gloss over that. Details. Yeah.
Awesome
it's not
stuff.
lost in game week 1.
No.
But if it is, we've done a pretty good job of it.
Love it. Thank you, everyone. And great to have you back, Mark. Hopefully, we'll have you on more this season as well, because you missed quite a chunk of last year, and it wasn't the same. Wasn't the same about you. So
thank you. Hopefully, I'm all right. But if my rank stays there, it is. Then tummy ache.
Oh dear.
No.
Do a Granville. Yeah. Oh, we're going to get Granville on again, aren't we? So sorry about Fest.
Did you agree that? Did you sign a contract?
Well, he got me drunk and sort of told me we had to.
What
at
have you
Fest.
done? You've agreed to have Granville on again. Fine. I think we should do an episode of the Scoutcast with me, Joe, and Granville again.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
We were at Fest and we had a chat about that. I think that'd be good.
I'm looking for any excuse to bin Andy off as well, so that's perfect.
Scoutcast was brilliant this week. I thought really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So,
That's a really good point, actually. Anyone who is looking for more content, do check out all the videos on Scout are brilliant. Burning Questions with Praz and Sando, Ted stuff is great, but the Scoutcast had a bit of a revamp, and it's I thought it was really some really good debates on there. So yeah, do give them a look as well. Mark, until next week, I will see you soon. No doubt we'll be talking over the weekend about all the horrible things that have happened to us. But until then,
let's hope not.
Yeah,
Green arrows. It's a good night for me.
Good night, everyone.